Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Eric D. Clark, and it's a joy to have you join us. You're watching Voices. Voices is a program of the Atlantic Caribbean Union, its communication department, led by Dr. Cheryl Rule and Brother John Garcia. And we're bringing you this special segment coming all the way from North Bahamas Conference. I'm talking about the second city, that's Grand Bahama headquarters. And we're coming to you with the president of that field, and we're delighted to welcome Pastor Moncur. Pastor Moncur, welcome, sir.
Pastor Clark, good to be here with you. Finally with you on Voices.
Thank you so much, Pastor Moncur. We want to talk a little bit about you, about your vision. We want to talk about this territory. We're so glad, so happy. We say Happy New Year to you.
And you too. You too. Good to have you in the territory with us, and good to be able to be sharing with you and sharing with the wider Union territory in terms of what's happening in North Bahamas.
We have finally made it happen, hey.
It took you coming to Grand Bahama to make it happen. Isn't that amazing?
Hey? But we give God thanks. Pastor Moncur, tell me a little bit about Pastor Moncur. First of all, your name. Are you the first, the second? Tell me a little bit about yourself, please.
Well, you know, I am the last of three children. I have an older sister, Shana, who is off in the U.S. I have an older brother, Chris, but I'm the last of three children, born to Henry and Naomi Moncur, parents who were instilled in me from the beginning that I growing up, instilled in me Christian education, instilled in me all the principles of Seventh Adventist. And so I'm like a third generation Seventh Adventist. My grandmother came into the church in her later years, and then as a result of that, my mother was born in the church. My father came into the church later years of his life, and they were able to instill in me what it is to know about God, what it is to know about the church, and what it is to be able to have a personal relationship with God. So I'm the last of three children. They're still alive, still active, involved in the church. Father served as an elder for quite a number of years, and one of the best youth directors I would imagine in the conference.
Yes, sir.
I had to spend time going to Pathfinders every Sunday. Didn't have a choice. My mom spent a whole lot of time dealing with Sabbath school. And so I'm a product of the Adventist Church, and a product of Christian education as a result of their commitment towards that.
Okay, let me take it this way. You mentioned your grandmother, and I think I know who you're talking about. Just expose her for us, man, because we stand on the shoulders of those who've gone before. I know that you're proud of her. We're happy for the contribution she made also to the early church in the Family Islands particularly.
Yeah, you know, and that's one of the things, you know, buried a couple of years ago because, you know, she left us, by God's grace, we're waiting on the resurrection more than to see her again. But she was one of those pioneers who, when there were no pastors in Long Island,
that's right,
she was the one who kept the church doors open. And every time summer we spent time up there. Whenever a church was open, we had to be there with her. And that's where I learned from that experience with her, that you don't have to be in a building to experience God, because we would sometimes sit on the outside and be able to have church. But she was the pioneer, and she kept the work going, kept the movement going. And it was out of her when I first went into ministry. She wrote me this letter where she said, finally you have done what God has called you to do.
Wow.
And so, you know, that letter I keep in my Bible ever since she wrote that to me, which is an inspiration to let me know, guess what? There are people who are praying for you, and because of some of the things she did earlier in my experience, that's how I got where I am today.
Okay.
You know, and like you said, you know, we don't get here based on just ourselves. There are people who have developed us along the way, who have poured into us, that allow us to be where we are today.
And her name is?
Evelyn Lopez.
Sister Lopez. All the way from Long Island.
All the way from Long Island.
That's right, man. We appreciate. We also want to talk about your spouse and your children, please.
You know, like I say, one of the wonderful things is, and I think you were passing Johnson Park at that time where I happened. And not only that, you were running a master guide program at that time, and I so happened to be a part of it. And there was this lady who also, you know, I looked around and I saw this. I said, hey, I gotta have that one. I gotta have that one. And today, out of that master guide experience, that's the love of my life. That's my dear wife Cheyenne. She was a member of Johnson Park, and now she's the love of my life, my wife, and we've been together for 16 years. 16 years we've been married, celebrated just last August, 16 years now, the 17th year. So God is blessing. And out of that relationship, God has allowed us to have 2 children.
Okay.
Rajan, who's a teenager, 15 years of age, and you know how teenagers go. You know how teenagers go. And then Crystal, our 7-year-old, who is a bundle of joy and just never stops until she goes to sleep at night.
Okay.
But we love them. They're doing wonderful, tremendous. They're part of our educational system at Grand Bahama Academy. And so they're the joy of our lives.
Thank you so
much. They bring us happiness.
Good. You serve now in the North Bahamas Conference. God has called you to the highest servant leadership position. You're the president of the conference. How has that been going for you?
It has been a whirlwind of an experience. There has been joy, there's been sorrow. You know, whenever you're dealing with leadership, one of the things you recognize is that some days will be better than others. But we can say here in the North Bahamas, God has really been doing some amazing things through not only me, because I'm just a part of a team, you know, because the danger is sometimes you can never get to the place where you believe you've done this all by yourself.
Exactly.
And so there's a wonderful team, administrative team, Pastor Andrew Burrows, our secretary, Sister Tonya Palmer, the treasurer, and then the pastoral staff here in the North Bahamas Conference, our directors who do an amazing job. And so with them together, we've had some challenges, but we've seen the hand of God work in the midst of those challenges. We started 2016 wondering, are we going to make it out of 2016? You know, and we just came out of convention and we were able to celebrate some marvelous things that God has done as a result of it. So being the president is sometimes a challenging job. Sometimes it's a difficult experience, but the one thing in terms of depending on God, seeing some great things happen here in the North Bahamas Conference.
And you still pastor also?
That's one of the amazing things. I pastor the largest church in the conference, the Freeport Church, and it is, pastoring and being president is a challenge, but God has given you the strength to be able to make it happen. So it's a joy to be able to pastor. Like I tell people, administration is wonderful, pastoring is where it's at. Because that's where the rubber meets the road, and dealing with members is the most important thing in this work that we do.
Pastor Moncur, I remember that you started out, when you came from school, you had a degree in engineering, isn't it?
Mechanical engineering, to be exact.
Okay. And you transitioned. You went back to school?
Went back to school, came out with, like, say, the Bachelor's of Engineering from Walla Walla University, which it's called now. But I always knew from the time I was growing up, God wanted me to be pastor. But you know, some of us have a little June experience. Some of us are a little hard-headed, and so we have to do things the around the mulberry bush way. You know, and so it took me a little while for God to answer God's call. And so I went back to Andrews University, where I got my Master of Divinity degree. And as a result of that, then there was an individual by the name of Katie Albury who took a chance when I came out of seminary and invited me to be a part of the ministerial team, but was at that time Bahamas Conference. And as a result of his taking a chance on me, I'm here today. And that's why I say I don't look at myself as being here because of what I've done. There have been people along the way who have poured into my life that has allowed me to be where I am today, and it's because of what they've done that I'm thankful for that.
So since ministry, how many years has that been when you entered?
Started ministry in 1998, August 1st, 1998, so going into 18 years now. So it's been a wonderful experience, you know. It's been a wonderful experience.
And your first posting would have been where?
Well, when I came on my first posting, I started at the Bethany Seventh Adventist Church. Wonderful, wonderful, amazing church. Because it's so amazing that it was a church just newly formed. And so they were just into doing ministry out of the box. And I guess from what I understand, they still do ministry out of the box today. But it was an amazing experience. Pastor Smith was the pastor at that time, so I was working under him, and he gave me the opportunity to really run that church. And you know, you had 2 good elders there, guys who took me under their wings, Pedro Rule and Raymond Antonio, and they poured into me. And I enjoyed that experience at Bethany. It was a marvelous, just over a year, spent time there, just over 1 year. Spent time there, and then from there, went to New Providence under Dr. Leonard Johnson, who's now the union president. And my first district that I was in charge of by myself was the Abaco district. Abaco district, and 4 churches to deal with from the north straight down to the south, 1 man on the island. And it was a an experience out of this world, going in your first district, and sometimes you learn some things. Because you go in there as the big bad wolf, who need to understand, guess what, you ain't the big bad wolf.
That's something.
But Habakkuk taught me to sometimes, you got to learn to depend on other people. And so I learned out of Habakkuk, and so from Habakkuk then I eventually transferred over here to Grand Bahama. I've been here over 10 plus years now in Grand Bahama.
All right. And you've had the opportunity to work along with who else? You mentioned Pastor Katie Aubrey. He was the first one in ministry that took a chance on you to say. But since coming to Grand Bahama, who were your leaders here?
In Grand Bahama, like I say, you have a vast array of individuals, especially your local lay leaders. You have a number of persons in the various churches I've been able to pastor here who have really been a strength and support. Even now I'm at the Freeport Church and I have a tower of elders there. My head elder, Sister Arlene Sands, who, like I tell her, all I need to do is show up to church. And just preach. She is a tower of strength. The rest of my elder the pastoral team there, they do an amazing job. My personal ministries director there, who's been a marvelous one for me. Then you have Lawrence Palmer there. You have down in 8 Mile Paul Thompson, Peter Watson, those guys I worked with who did some marvelous things up at Shiloh. Brother Daniel Lowe, who was there when I got to Shiloh and really helped and support. So there've been a number of other lay persons. Persons who are not clergy, who were there to help along the way, and even pull me on the side and be able to say, hey, you need to look at these things. I appreciate that. I appreciated that because that's helped to make me who I am today.
I like that. You're saying that even as a leader, folk can still input in you in terms of saying, hey, why don't you look at it this way or look at it the other way?
But Pastor Clark, sometimes as leaders we get to the point we believe that we know everything. And one of the things I've even had to learn as a leader is, no, you don't know everything. There are some people out there who know more than you. And if you just learn to have some patience, they could teach you some things that could help you to be, and that didn't always come easy for me. That required, being able to learn to be humble and learn to be patient. But I appreciate what they've been able to do over the years to be able to mold me into the person I am to be able to lead God's church.
Okay. I want to ask you this final question before we go to the break. When we come back from the break, we're going to look at 2016, see how the Lord has blessed the field and what your projections are for 2017. But right now, convention has just taken place. And believe you me, the union looks forward to the convention in Grand Bahama. We have some other sayings that we may not say here, but we want to commend you. How was convention? Who was your guest speaker? How's it going there?
Convention was, every year in the North Bahamas Conference, I'm amazed at how our persons can move convention to a higher level. We came off a mountaintop experience with convention this weekend. Pastor Calvin Preston, who is now, prior he was the pastor of the West End Church in Atlanta, Georgia, but he's now the executive vice president in charge of ministerial and evangelism for the South Atlantic Conference. He was our guest speaker for the closing of convention, and man, he just took us to the mountaintop experience. And so we truly had a wonderful time with him and his wife, as well as we capped it off with our first ordination here in the North Bahamas Conference, which was another high note. And so we are riding a momentum that's going to carry us into our first quarter evangelistic effort with one of the amazing evangelists in our territory, Pastor Sharon O'Connor. So we're just excited here in the North Bahamas Conference right now, man. We're just
Thank
buzzing.
you so much. We're going to take a break.
Pathfinders, you can be a part of one of the most exhilarating and exciting youth events in the Inter-American Division. The 2017 Lineage of Champions Pathfinder Camporee will take place April 11 to 16 in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic.
Come play, learn and worship with over 15,000 Pathfinders, Spanish, French, English and Dutch from throughout the Inter-American Division.
Daily devotions, parades, drilling and marching, new honors, live events, sporting activities, island tours, live and exciting evening programs featuring the story and life of Ruth.
Your people shall be my people, and your God my God.
Make new friends from various countries, learn a language and exchange cultural pins.
Come develop a closer relationship with Jesus Christ. Join the movement of young Seventh-day Adventists who are part of a powerful generation of youth in Inter-America. The Inter-American Division Camporee only happens once every 5 years. Don't miss it. You must be there.
April 11th to 16th, 2017. The Lineage of Champions, Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic.
Register today with your local youth department. We will not rest until the matter is settled.
Seventh-day Adventist education is an opportunity for our children. The Lord had in mind a great plan to take our children to heaven. And Christian education is part of that plan. You know, Christian education means salvation, because every Adventist teacher, every Seventh-day Adventist school is involved in saving our kids. Are you an Adventist pastor? It's your responsibility to inspire your children, the children in your church, to go to our schools, to our universities. Are you a church leader? You have the same opportunity. You are called to support them, to help them, to inspire them to study in our institutions. Are you a father or a mother? Well, the Lord has you in order to take your children to heaven. And Christian education is part of those resources left for you. Every one of our children should be in our schools. That should be our motto. That should be our goal, and the Lord will help us to achieve it. May the Lord bless you as pastor, as church member, as parent, and bless through you all the church children.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is Voices. I'm Eric D. Clark, and we have in studio Pastor Henry Moncur. Pastor Moncur, before the break, we were projecting, and we just wanted you to be able to talk about the blessings of Almighty God on yourself and the North Bahamas Conference during 2016.
You know, Pastor Clark, 2016 was an awesome year. We saw the hand of God move in our territory, from our baptisms, which increased 100% plus compared to 2015 in a economy that seemed to be turned upside down. We saw our tithe up by 4%, and even in the midst of all of that, we threw out a challenge to our members in regards to our school, Grand Bahama Academy. For 100 days, we asked them to give $1 a day for the cause of raising $100,000 towards Seventh-day Adventist Christian education. And you would have thought, you know, when we threw it out there, we said, this thing probably going to be impossible, but let's do it. And our members rose to the challenge, and we raised over $100,000 towards Seventh-day Adventist Christian education. That was a miracle only God himself could have done. And so 2016 was wonderful. We were able to dedicate the North Abaco Seventh-day Adventist Church. We started pushing in terms of completing the Sunrise Church, and we have a few other churches we're now beginning to work to complete. So we only could give God praise for what he did in our conference territory in 2016.
I know that you were also affected by the hurricane. I had the opportunity to visit with the Prime Minister and his team, and the same time I spoke with you guys, you all were headed down that way, and we were trying to be in the area just to identify. How did you make out with that, and how did God bless in terms of stewardship?
You know, there again, we saw God just do some great things for our members, despite the devastation, and it was real. No power, no light, water even being off for a couple of days. But despite the devastation, our members rose to the challenge. We had our women's ministries who led out with our women. They were distributing and cooking hot meals. each day over 400 hot meals they would cook and they would distribute, and we saw our members giving food packages. We were able to do from distribution from our community service center here. Every day we're giving out food bags, building materials. We were able to assist in some areas in terms of helping persons with building materials. We had members going into the communities by themselves, just distributing food, distributing clothing. And so we saw God work through our members to be able to give, to help persons through this time. And we're still being able to see persons who are thankful for what we were able to do for them from a church perspective.
Okay. Pastor Moncur, in terms of 2017 now, what are your projections? What are your plans? What are the strategic plans of the conference for 2017?
Each year since this administration came in, we've tried to lay before the constituency at least 3 different things we want to work on, because you figure the less you can work on, the more you can accomplish. And so this year we have 3 strategic initiatives. One is entreating God. Second one is evangelizing the territory. And the third one is educating our children. Okay. From entreating God, we want to talk about spending time with God, getting to in God's face and building that relationship with God. And so with the different things we're encouraging our members to do, from Bible reading, from prayer times, from our first Sundays where we get together once a month across the conference territory to pray together. In terms of evangelizing the territory, our goal is to plant more churches across the North Bahamas Conference. And so we have a church planning committee that's looking in terms of more churches in Grand Bahama, moving some of our brand Sabbath schools to Nabucco Company, as well as going into Bimini, which we need to get into, and we have a pastor signed there, and we even have some interest already. And so we're looking to make that a reality this year. As we come out of first quarter, we got a magnificent crusade here in Grand Bahama. Pastor Sharon O'Connor is well-known evangelist who's going to be here with us beginning the 5th of February on the grounds there at the Freeport 7 Adventist Church, and it's going to be a magnificent crusade as we share with him in the Countdown to the End campaign. And over in Abaco, we have another crusade that's slated for there in Abaco. It's an island-wide crusade. Pastor Donald Francis, who's coming in to be with them there. And so evangelism is something that we're doing in the North Bahamas Conference territory, because we want to make sure we finish the work and people are saved. And then educating our children, recognize it's important to make sure, not only from the school's perspective, but then our local church, pathfinding, and you're a youth director of the union, so you know about this. Pathfinding, the AY program, making sure Sabbath school, making sure that we keep our young people in the church so that they don't fall through the cracks, but also making sure the church is relevant for them and that they find it meaningful. And so those are the 3 strategic initiatives that we're looking at in our conference territory in 2017.
Beautiful. Pastor Moncur, we talked earlier in the program about ordinations, and there was an historic ordination in your field. Can you expand a little bit more about that? Who was ordained? Which backgrounds are they coming from in terms of where they're serving?
The ordination has been quite a long time coming in the North Bahamas Conference, and we're a young field, still growing, and we have a number of young pastors. But we got to the place we recognized that there were some men who were ready for the ordination, and so this past weekend we were able to ordain 2 of them. Pastor Patrick Tyrell, who's been with us since 2000, shortly after 2006, and Pastor Fitzgerald Francois, who came to us in 2000, shortly after 2013. And so they were a part of our territory. They've been doing wonderful work. Pastor Francois is in Abaco now. He pastors the North Abaco and the Salem churches. Pastor Terrell is here in Grand Bahama, where he pastors the 8 Mile Rock and Western churches, and they are tremendous men doing a great work. And we were so thankful that we were able to ordain them. And by God's grace, we've been looking forward to more ordinations before we come to the end of this year, because we still have young pastors on staff that we're pushing them towards ordination as well. And so we're looking forward to even not only this historic one, but another one, and being able to have 2 ordinations in 1 year, which is something that would be wonderful in terms of advancing our young men, in terms of getting them in the mainstream of ministry.
Good. Pastor Moncur, we're coming towards the end of our program, but I wonder whether there's a favorite scripture of yours that resonates with you, and then sharing it with the brethren.
Like all good preachers, whenever you talk about a Bible text, you got all these texts saying me, 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 me. But there's one particular passage that really speaks to me, and that's Psalms 27, but there's one verse in Psalms 27 that really says it all, and that's verse 14. Wait on the Lord. Okay. Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. And that's powerful to me, because it says to me, God has some plans for your life. And if you just learn to be patient and wait on God, you'll discover that God will bring all of those things to pass. But you've just got to be willing to wait on God.
Pastor Moncur, I just want to say thank you so much. It's been a real joy and a pleasure to work with you. And we've seen the hand of God. You've talked about how your folk were able to go into the community and assist with the food packages, the assistance not only from women's ministries, but all of the other areas coming together. The Lord is blessed in your baptisms and all of that. You're on the verge of this brand new year. We're already in this first month of a brand new year. And as you address your members, as you talk to the citizens of the Commonwealth and to all those who view this program, what would you say to them as they prepare for the coming of the Lord Jesus?
You know, there are two things I'd say, Pastor Clark, and in this year, in the North Bahamas Conference, we have a theme that we're using, which is faithful until he comes. And the first thing I'd say to folks is, no matter what you're going through, stay faithful to God. Because at the end of it all, God's going to bring you through. And the second thing I'll say, not only to individuals in the North Bahamas Conference, even in the wider Bahamas, no matter what happens, God is in control. And if God is in control, God, who has a plan for your life, is going to bring that plan to fruition. It comes back to that text that I love in Jeremiah 29, verse 11. God says, guess what? I got some plans for you. I got a hope for you. I got a future. And if you trust me, I'll take care of you. And so to all persons across the length and breadth of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, no matter what you're dealing with, God says, if you're faithful to me, I'll take care of you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Moncur. I resonate with you on that, and to all of the members of the North Bahamas Conference, to all of the wonderful folk in the Atlantic Caribbean Union and those who are viewing this program, whether it's by our local television program or by way of the internet, we just want to remind you then of the theme for the convention and this year for the North Bahamas Conference, Pastor Moncur, which is to be faithful until he comes. This is Voices. I'm Eric D. Clark on behalf of Dr. Cheryl Roll and Brother John Garcia and the Atlantic Caribbean Union family. We just want to thank you for viewing our program, and we trust that you will be faithful until he comes.
Seventh-day Adventist education is an opportunity for our children. The Lord had in mind a great plan to take our children to heaven. And Christian education is part of that plan. You know, Christian education means salvation, because every Adventist teacher, every Seventh-day Adventist school is involved in saving our kids. Are you an Adventist pastor? It's your responsibility to inspire your children, the children in your church, to go to our schools, to our universities. Are you a church leader? You have the same opportunity. You are called to support them, to help them, to inspire them to study in our institutions. Are you a father or a mother? Well, the Lord has you in order to take your children to heaven. And Christian education is part of that, of those resources left for you. Every one of our children should be in our schools. That should be our motto. That should be our goal, and the Lord will help us to achieve it. May the Lord bless you as pastor, as church member, as parent, and bless through you all the church children.